The countdown to Mother's Day is on, people. This is not a drill. You only have 6 days left to get Mom a gorgeous bouquet from 1-800-Flowers.com. So to help you get out of this jam, 1-800-Flowers is offering an amazing deal that Mom would approve of. Today only, when you order a dozen sorbet roses, 1-800-Flowers will give you an extra half dozen roses free, plus the vase for only $29.99. That's right. Buy a dozen sorbet roses, get a half dozen plus a free vase for only $29.99. This limited time offer ends today, so order now. With an impressive mix of pastel shades in pink, orange, and lavender, these roses are guaranteed to make her smile. Roses are the perfect way to surprise all of the moms in your life. Wife, aunt, sister, grandma, you get it. These breathtaking roses from 1-800-Flowers are picked at their peak and shipped overnight to ensure freshness. Buy a dozen sorbet roses, get a half dozen free plus the vase for only $29.99. Look, that's an amazing offer, but you gotta hurry because it expires today. Whether you're surprising an aunt, sister, or mother, let them know how much you care with 1-800-Flowers.com. Order a dozen sorbet roses, get a half dozen plus a free vase for only $29.99. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com, click the radio icon, and enter code WINGO. That's 1-800-Flowers.com, code WINGO. And hurry, offer ends today.
Squirrels are known for saving, but with the help of AARP, they won't be the only ones. From planning to budgeting, AARP is here to help you stretch your dollar further. So take on today and every day with AARP. Learn how at takeontoday.aarp.
Golic and Wingo with you on a Monday morning on ESPN Radio and ESPN News. Glad you're with us. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Big weekend in sports, the Kentucky Derby, obviously a big part of that, and that was good for you, my man.
Yeah, it was. You know, I had never really experienced horse racing at like a sports book or, Greenie and I did a couple shows at the Kentucky Derby, but never really got in the mix of the gambling part of it. So I was alone this weekend. I love going to the casino, so I thought, I'll go play a little blackjack, and I'll go there for the Derby. And I walked into the sports book there, which is an experience in and of itself. That is a different language in there. They were serving mint juleps. I did not have any because I'm not a fan that much of mint juleps.
Yeah, they are certainly an acquired taste.
Yeah, they definitely are. But hey, drink away if you like them. No problem. One in Rome. So I was in there and I just bet a couple of bucks on the favorite Justify because I didn't really know anything about it. But in there, man, it's a different language. Yeah. It is a different language of what to bet, what they were asking me on a bet. I said, I have no idea what you're talking about. Right. All the different ways. And they have not only the Churchill Downs there, but they had all tracks across the country people were betting on. It was, and everybody stopped obviously for the Derby. It went on all the channels. But right after that, man, back to all the other races, and people just keep on going. It is unreal. And the verbiage is I'm not around it, so I didn't understand it.
What was the weirdest thing that you heard when you were in there?
It was, I just stopped listening. I actually told one guy, there's some people who like the show and were taking some pictures and were asking me about, about like I said, trifectas and the box picks or something. I don't know. At one point I said, just stop talking because I don't understand a word you're saying. I took
speaking Latin
I took a few bucks. I went up there and I said, Justify is the favorite, correct? Yes. Here's
take my
10
money.
cents, whatever. Yeah. Take my, and then I sat there and won and watched them win. And it was, what a scene though.
Yeah.
But then I had a great time there because blackjack actually went well and I got to watch the Celtics 76ers and Cleveland and Toronto. It was a lot of fun. Enjoyed it.
That's a nice little run you had on a Saturday.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie to you.
Worked out okay.
You know who knows the language of horse racing better than almost Kenny Mayne?
He would be a guest of ours when we were out at the Kentucky Derby. And you just sit there and go, wow.
Yeah. He'll start talking to me about that. And at some point I'm like, I have no idea what you're saying.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it's important.
I'm sure the people are having a ball that are doing it, unless the ones that are ripping stuff up and throwing it on the ground. I'm just kind of thinking they're losing.
Yes.
It's putting two and two together.
You're never going to rip up that winning ticket.
But man, they're into it and they love it. So more power to them. I just kind of sat back and people watched.
Yeah.
And it was pretty cool.
I think you and I have the same philosophy when it comes to trying to figure out the language of betting.
It was my understanding that there would be no math.
Yeah. It's a different deal for
Luckily,
both of us.
there wasn't. But I didn't even know this, how bad I was, right? So when the odds were on the board there for Justify, it was 3-1.
Yeah.
And when I made my bet, that's what it was. And before the race started, it changed to 5-2.
Yeah.
Which certainly is different than 3-1.
Right.
I actually had to ask somebody, I said, new to this.
Yeah.
I bet when it was 3-1, it's now 5-2. What if I win? Which odds?
Yeah.
And they were like, whatever it goes off at, whenever the race starts, whatever.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
That's a legit. I probably would have asked the same question.
I thought, wait a minute, I made the bet when they were 3-1, so don't I get it when? And they're like, no, whatever the race goes off at, that's what you. I'm like,
sucks.
Okay. Well, that's what I thought. I said, wait a minute, 5-2 isn't as good as 3-1.
It's like that. You keep moving the line.
Yeah.
I was here. That was good.
So I thought that was kind of weird.
Bottom line, you came out ahead.
I almost didn't ask because I felt stupid. Then I'm like, I feel stupid anyway because I don't understand what anybody's saying. So why not just ask?
I was about to say, once you feel like you're in over your head, ask as many questions as possible.
I walked in there drowning, so it was ridiculous.
Hey, look. It was a win for you, and that's all that matters, and it was a big win.
It was fun.
For Justify, but again, nobody's winning bigger than American Pharaoh.
There you go.
We may get into that later. Okay, let's start with what's trending, and it's the Warriors bouncing back in that big way in Game 4, beating the Pelicans by 26. They're now up 3-1 in that series, and the death lineup was starting the game for the first time.
First time Curry, Durant, Green, Iguodala, and Thompson started the best five as Steve Kerr said, didn't start at last game, wanted Steph Curry to get a game under his belt, getting a little better playing shape before, because he said there's a lot of high pick and rolls in it, so wanted him a little better off. Feels good now. They outscored the Pelicans 52-26 with that group of five on the court. I go back again after they lost. They got crushed in Game 3. That Draymond Green sent a text message to Kevin Durant at 4:00 in the morning saying, dude, you got to play better. You got to be more aggressive, both sides of the court. Durant answered that with 38 points, played well. This team, they're healthy now. They're the best team in all of basketball. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But we are, it seems, going to get that matchup with Houston and Golden State the way the Rockets are playing as well.
Yeah, and I would imagine that Houston might see this lineup a little bit in the Western Conference Finals. Assuming that both teams hold a 3-1 series lead, we like their chances to do that. The other team there that we like to get there, of course, is Houston. Chris Paul, 27 points on his 33rd birthday as the Rockets beat the Jazz to also go up 3-1. They took that game 100-87.
Yeah, again, both games yesterday, neither winning team was down at all in the game. Now, quite honestly, in the Cleveland-Toronto game, it was the same way, though. Toronto did come back and tie it at the end before that big shot by LeBron. Nothing like that happened in these two games. These teams dominated. Houston dominated this one to where one of the exciting parts of it happened off the court. Chris Paul's brother, CJ, was being escorted out of the arena because an official told security, an official on the court, a referee, told a security to get him out because he had been saying derogatory things. CJ Paul had said that official had officiated some of his games in college. And he said it was a case of mistaken identity. He thought I was somebody else, or it meant somebody else. He was getting escorted out. Chris Paul saw this, and Chris Paul told security, no way this is happening.
Yeah.
My brother is not leaving the arena, not happening, no way, no how. He didn't have to leave. He went back to his seat, and I'm sure it's something they'll joke about a little bit now, but Chris Paul's brother almost got escorted out of the arena.
On his birthday, by the way. Happy birthday. See you later. You can come get me out of jail.
Yeah.
The other thing, Chris Paul, by the way, we're all assuming that the series is over, and it's going to be the thing we've sort of wanted to see since February, Houston and Golden State in the Western Conference Finals. Chris Paul is not going down that road.
It's the process, man. I've been here before, 3-1. It went bad real quick. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. We just enjoying the process. Want to get home, see my family. You know what I mean? Good birthday gift. I'll take it.
Yeah, 3-1. He was up with the Clippers against Houston in 2015.
Yeah, he'll still be holding his breath until they get that fourth win.
Went bad there. So he's been down that road. That sound courtesy of TNT, so he does not want to go there. And then this is really interesting. The Milwaukee Bucks plan to interview San Antonio Spurs assistant Becky Hammond for the franchise's head coaching vacancy. Hammond is the NBA's first female assistant, and now will be the first woman to interview for a head coaching job in the history of the league.
You know, she has been coaching their G League team for like 3 or 4 years, and she is so well respected around the league, and just another off the Greg Popovich tree of coaching, another branch that may be going out. Our own Adrian Wojnarowski doesn't think she'll end up getting this job. There's like 10 candidates for this job.
Right.
But just to be in the process and start the process, I think is fantastic. We've talked about this is there going to be a woman head coach in the NBA? And a lot of people think if there is going to be one, it's going to be her.
Right.
Because and LeBron, when he was told about this and chimed in, basically said, basketball isn't about men or women. It's not about gender. He said, if you know the game, That's all that matters. And he said she is so well respected around the league. Started out cutting tape or cutting video, for Greg Popovich, and has worked her way up to be well respected around the league, and a great opportunity now as a head coaching candidate to start this interview process and go through it and see what it's like and then see where it leads.
Everybody that has had any sort of interaction with Becky Hammon that I've talked to from a basketball perspective walks away with the same thing. How impressed they are.
Yep.
She just knows what she's doing.
Knows what she's doing. And that's all that matters at the end of the day.
And our PJ Carlissimo actually has ties to San Antonio and spoke about Hammon recently as a potential head coach.
I think she's a superstar. I love her. I'm still very close to the Spurs, obviously, having spent 5 years there. And so I've been there a lot. I've seen Becky at practices, at shoot-arounds, on the bench. I know how basketball smart she is, how people smart she is. She's absolutely delightful. It's going to happen for sure. But if she's the first woman to coach, be a head coach in the NBA, she'll do well. And I'll love it because she's a superstar person and she'll be a great coach.
So again, he's assuming that it may not happen in Milwaukee.
Right.
But PJ firmly believes that somewhere down the line she will be a head coach in the league.
20 years in the WNBA, played overseas as well. Coming off the G League. There are those that think Jerry Stackhouse, who's coming off coaching in the G League, may be the favorite for this Milwaukee job. We'll have to wait and see. But again, great experience for her to go into this in this interview process. And I agree. And for those who have any issue with it at all, need to get over it.
Yeah.
For the fact that LeBron is right, and anybody and others have said it as well. It is not about man or woman. It's about your knowledge of the game and how well you're respected. Because that's the one thing when you go somewhere and you have a coach is like, how is that coach respected? And she's put her time in and done enough to where players respect what she is doing, from an assistant, from one cutting video to an assistant coach to the head coach in the G League, to respect what she's doing, I think, to where she is going to be the first head coach at some point.
Yeah, nobody has ever, that I've talked to or that I've listened to that have worked with her has had anything but great things to say about her. So that's why we're pretty confident that she or a woman one day will get a head coaching job in the near future. Confidence Theme brought to you by Quicken Loans. Apply simply, understand fully, mortgage confidently. Golic and Wingo with you on a Monday morning. Lots to get to, including a story. As soon as I saw this, Mike, I knew that it was going to be something you would want to talk about, even though you probably don't want to talk about.
Yeah.
And it's basically your worst nightmare, in every way, shape, or form. Cardinals catcher Yadier Molina is going to be out for a while.
Yeah, he is.
He had to have surgery. Surgery after being hit in the Yadiers.
Yeah.
After a 102-mile-an-hour pitch was tipped by Chris Bryant and then went straight into the nether regions.
Yeah.
It was bad. Mike Matheny, a former catcher, and now the Cardinals manager, talked about it and said, look, I saw as soon as it happened, he was just trying to get his breath back and tried to breathe for a while. But, he had to have surgery down there for a massive hematoma.
Yeah, what it was called was a pelvic injury with traumatic hematoma. Oh. And as Matheny said, it's like something you've never felt, which is very true. And if you're a guy, and we always have our fun with this, but this led to surgery. This got pretty serious. He said you're always just hoping it's one of those things where, and like it normally is, you take a couple of minutes, you catch your breath, then it's manageable. But he said you could see this was on a different level. He left the game after being hit, and as Trey mentioned, he going for surgery and going to be out a month. But man, that's one of those you have your fun with at times, and you usually just again it hurts, you recover. But this did lead to surgery, so certainly of a serious nature when you're going to miss a month of the damage that can do. And man, that's with wearing a cup. Gosh.
Yeah.
They got to start making better cups maybe. I don't know.
One of the things that you were the first ones to tell me about, by the way, is that most guys in the NFL don't wear cups.
Oh, I've never known a football player to wear a cup, ever.
Yeah.
And I know people were shocked at that because think of all the ways you fall down, it would be very uncomfortable in certain situations of hitting the ground and falling and such to have a cup on. Guys don't wear cups. And every now and then you get kicked there. I remember, I'll never forget the running back I kicked is for the Giants. I can't remember who it was, but man, we were on the goal line.
Right.
And the goal line play.
What year? Do you remember?
Oh, no, I have no idea what year. Seriously. You're asking me that? So it's a goal line play. And as a D lineman, a goal line basically are in all fours. You're down low. You're just kind of shooting forward. And basically the O line just kind of piles on you and such. So I kind of did that into a gap on the play, and I could see I was on my stomach, and nobody was really on me, and the back was coming back to my right
through the hole.
Yeah. And obviously I was laying on the ground. I couldn't get up in that time. It's a bang bang play to get up to make the tackle. So I swung my leg around. Yeah. And to trip him, which is completely illegal, but I mean, you're just flailing at that point.
Take the penalty as opposed to getting up the touchdown.
Or just hoping the ref doesn't see it. You're in the goal line there. You may not even see it. And my heel, I know the pads on a football player, knee pads, thigh pads and all that. I swung my heel around and I felt nothing but soft tissue. I kid you not. I swung my hard. And I mean, that running back just dropped. Unfortunately, he dropped right in the end zone, but that's a whole nother thing. But yeah, I actually felt bad about that. I did. I knew exactly where I kicked him, and he obviously did as well because
I'm sure he knew. I'm pretty sure he was very familiar with it.
He wasn't doing a lot of celebrating for that touchdown. He was trying to recover a little bit, but it definitely happens out there. But players do. Football players, I've never known one in my life to, and I don't know if any do or not, but to my knowledge, they don't wear a cup at all.
I mean, just listening to this from Mike Matheny, he was trying to get the ability to breathe back. No further explanation for that one. 10-day disabled, but again, he's going to miss a month.
Yeah.
That's a rough one.
If you see that, I mean, any guy has felt this in a certain way one time or another, but 102 mile an hour pitch that was barely tipped. Yeah. So I don't know how much speed came off that ball when it was barely tipped by the bat. And then just a direct shot, unfortunately, again, leading to the surgery. So the normal, sophomoric fun we would have with this, we don't want to have at this point because that led to surgery. You're going to miss some time.
Yeah,
so we hope he's okay.
Yeah. You know what people should do? They should send him flowers.
There you go.
Golic and Wingo is presented by 1-800-Flowers.com. Countdown to Mother's Day is on. 1-800-Flowers is here to hook you up with an amazing offer. Buy Mom a dozen sorbet roses, get another half dozen plus a free vase for only $29.99. To order, go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN. Okay, the other thing that might be a little uncomfortable right now is the quarterback room of the Pittsburgh Steelers. As we all know, the Steelers did Mason Rudolph in the third round of the draft. And Mason Rudolph probably isn't going to play this year.
I would say not.
Or next year. So Ben Roethlisberger was asked if he would take Rudolph under his wing on 93.7 The Fan in Pittsburgh, and here was Ben's response.
Will you feel any extra or added responsibility to take him under your wing? Do you think you'll have to do that?
I don't think I'll need to now. He said that he doesn't need me. So if he asked me a question, I might have to just point to the playbook,
Have you talked to him yet, Ben?
I have not talked to him yet. I don't think they're in town yet. I think that the biggest thing is I need to get myself prepared to play, right? I mean, that's first priority. In the past, I've helped Ranger with stuff. I helped Josh if they have questions. But first priority is getting myself ready to play because as far as I know, I'm still the starter. So I need to get myself ready to go, ready to play to win a championship.
The throwaway line there, as far as I know, I'm still the starter.
Yeah, listen,
Ben, you're still the starter.
A couple of things here. I know we got upset, and I get it, and I've said this before. If the Giants had taken a quarterback at number 2, I think every player in that locker room would have been upset saying, wait a minute, we want to win right now.
Correct.
And whoever you drafted there at 2 is not going to play for us for a few years. While management likes to think about the future and has to, the players of the now don't want to. So Ben saying, hey, we could have got a guy there that could help us right now because they certainly are one of the favorites in the AFC. I completely understand. But I'll also say this, Ben now all of a sudden said he wants to play another, 3 to 5 years?
3 to 5
but
years.
He has said, I'm thinking about retiring basically every year. So I'm sorry, Ben, you brought this upon, as far as their thought process of maybe having to take a quarterback, you kind of come see, come saw about whether you're going to play or not is going to put that in their mind a little bit. I mean, so at least that's my thought. And as far as, let me tell you what's overblown is any position guy, is there a responsibility to help the other guy at your position?
Right.
I mean, let's stop with that, okay?
This goes back to Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre. Back that far.
Here's what you do when you're a rookie. At least I think, in my eyes, what you should do. You know what you've never played before? Professional football.
Correct.
You've never been in the NFL, and you hear how different it can be. It's still football, but there's a difference to it. You are now dealing with men here who do it for their job, and it's a different animal as far as what you're learning. You go in there. There are some things at old school that don't change. At times keep your mouth shut and your ears and eyes open and learn. Learn from watching. You don't have to go in and the veteran who's at your position doesn't need to put his arm around you and say, sit with me, let me go over everything. Learn from watching. You know how to read a playbook? Learn a playbook. You know how to watch film? Watch film. Watch what the veterans are doing. Watch how they go about their business. That's how you learn. And I bet if you do that and you have a question, they'll answer your question.
Correct.
If Mason Rudolph has a question and he goes to Ben and asks a question, you think Ben's going to say, Rook, I'm not helping you? Give me a break. Ben will help him.
Yeah.
But that's not how it starts out. You don't sit and say, okay, let's talk and go over it. You just learn by watching and listening, ask questions to your coaches.
Osmosis.
Do it that way, and then if you have questions along the way, the veterans will answer them. I mean, so that's the biggest overblown. Do you have a responsibility to help him? No. My responsibility first is to get myself ready, and then if I need to help my teammate, if my teammate wants help, I'll be there to help him.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to, he's not supposed to go, hey, Mason, come here. I'm going to help you today. I mean, that's not how it works.
It's never how it works. Now, people can say, well, he could have handled that differently, and that's fine. But at the end of the day, what you're saying is 100% correct. Everybody has to get themselves ready first, and we'll figure it out from there. And, oh, by the way, they did get some players, I think, in the draft that will help them win now. They got Terrell Edmonds, the linebacker that everybody's raving about, out of Virginia Tech. They also got James Washington, who was the Blitnikoff winner, the wide receiver. Oh, they got the safety.
They got the safety. Tremaine Edwards went to the Bills, the linebacker. Yeah, exactly. They got the safety, the two brothers that went in the first round. And listen, the part about I would – Mason Rudolph said, I would have said the same thing about, I got a guy, why don't we get someone that we could use right now? I get that. Because I guarantee every player in that locker room is thinking of that as well. They're thinking about the now. They're not thinking about the next quarterback for this team.
Yeah, and look, the other thing, too, is your point that it's different in every team, okay? Like, for example, there is every expectation that Josh McCown is going to mentor Sam Darnold and Teddy Bridgewater because that's why he's there. Mm-hmm. I mean, he may start the season as a starter. He has a chance
to start the season.
But he is also there because he's great in the quarterback room. That is not the situation here.
But let me also say this. When Josh McCown is in that quarterback room with with Bridgewater and with Darnold, it's also not his job to go up to each one and make sure they're doing everything right. It's their jobs to learn and watch by the process. And if they have questions and say, Josh, hey, what do you do here or there? Josh will answer that question. Yeah. It's not on Josh to go to those guys and say, let me help you.
No. But I think the understanding is with Josh.
And they have him there in that room.
Because he's great in the room.
Yes.
I mean, that's part of the situation. Ben's job is to go win freaking games.
Right.
That's the thing, and hopefully get them to finally beat the Patriots, which is something they struggle with mightily. Over the last 3 seasons, by the way, Ben is the only quarterback that has played at least 25 games and averaged more than an interception per game, 43 and 41 games. He had that 5-burger this past season against Jacksonville, the first time they lost to the Jaguars. But we'll see what happens.
Hey everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for the Golic Wingo podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage. By Quicken Loans, chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS consumeraccess.org number 3030.
Everyone in the neighborhood knew about Bobby. Bobby, the basketball boy, they called him. Bobby wanted to go pro someday, so he was always out in the driveway shooting hoops. But one day, his mom came out and told him,
"Hey, your wife wants you to take out the trash?"
His mom was visiting, and Bobby was a grown man. He had kind of missed his window. Plus, no one had ever seen him actually make a basket. But on the other hand, Bobby had heard how Geico could save him money on car insurance, so he switched and saved. So it was all good.
There's a lot to get to with Shohei Ohtani and a lot to get to in Major League Baseball right now, and we will do that with someone who knows what he's talking about.
I would say so.
Stuff. He's a Hall of Famer, John Smoltz, already on the MLB Network. You can catch John on MLB Tonight. Plus, MLB Network will feature the Red Sox and Yankees this Tuesday and Thursday at 7 p.m. John, thanks for being with us this morning. How are you?
I'm doing good, guys. Thanks.
Most importantly, how's your golf game right now?
It's getting a little better. We got out of this seemed like 8-month winter everywhere. So once it warms up, it gets better.
Yeah, well, Smoltz was one of that. I mean, that whole Braves rotation, they all played golf together, and Maddox.
I bet at one point all putted better than Tiger did this weekend.
So. Listen, they could hit the hole. There's no question about it. Okay, we'll get to golf a little bit later, but let's talk first and foremost about Albert Pujols joining the 3,000 hit club. Obviously, you thought he was a very difficult out. Against you, he hit 368, 3 home runs, 5 RBIs, only struck out once. In your mind, what makes Albert Pujols such a tough hitter?
He seemed so comfortable in the box. He had a unique ability to not overswing. You never saw wild misses, and that's what we see today. Today, everyone's trying to uppercut, hit it all over the place in the air, but Albert didn't do that. I considered him the fiercest right-hander that sat in a rocking chair that just didn't give an inch, and certainly didn't have good numbers against him. I didn't know how to get him out, in ways that he was the best I've ever seen for a 10-year period over there in the National League. And it speaks for itself what he's been able to do over his career. There's been a lot of injuries of late, and people kind of wrote him off. But I think Albert, much like Miguel Cabrera, 2 hitters that you don't come across very often. Mike Trout, his teammate, of course, is unique in that way too. But, you look at guys and when they can go power all over the park and they don't just swing from their heels, they have a plan, and that's what he's had. That's why he's got a combination of homers and 3,000 hits.
John, take everybody into your preparation. For most of the people listening will never be in your situation. When you're scouting and you're preparing to face hitters, so let's say Albert Pujols, take us through that process of what you do to figure out how you're going to pitch him.
So the first problem is that he's not going to be super aggressive, and I loved super aggressive guys because then you could throw whatever you want. You could expose their weakness, but he always gave you a strike. So if you threw a strike to lead him off, that was good. He rarely swung at the first pitch. But the fear factor of when is he going to come out of that game plan, I don't want to be the one that lays it down the middle and he decides to swing at that first pitch and hit a homer. And the only way that you could get him out, you couldn't get him too often to chase away. He was disciplined. I learned later, when it was too late, that I could actually throw a changeup inside to him, which I would have never done to any right-hander, or a split. That would have been something I could have maybe exposed. That the down and in version of a left-hander throwing a slider to him would be my split. But he crushed anything up, and if you made a mistake up, he was going to hit it. So the fear factor is you knew you were limited to what you could do from a mistake standpoint. And I've always said that when a pitcher and a hitter get in their respective spots, one of them knows they've got the advantage. And the key is to not let the other guy know that he has the advantage. Well, I tried my best to fake it. But I'm pretty sure that Albert Pujols, when he stood in the box, knew he had an advantage over pretty much everybody that stood on the mound.
Well, listen, that's why he's one of only, 4 players, Hank Aaron, Willie Mays, and A-Rod, with 3,000 hits and 600 homers. Hall of Famer John Smoltz with us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, taking synthetic motor oil performance to a whole new level. Make the switch to Pennzoil Synthetics today. Speaking of a whole new level, that's where we are in dealing with Shohei Ohtani, who's been a decent hitter and now picked up his 4th win of the season. What has impressed you the most, John, about what we're seeing from Ohtani as a two-way player?
It really is his arm. I got to believe that as a hitter, he was going to learn how to adapt. Maybe his success early out of spring training where he did nothing probably surprised everybody because he looked overmatched. He looked uncomfortable, adapting to a new style and different velocity. I can't imagine he's seen that kind of velocity over in Japan. But his arm's special. I'm just telling you, if he came over here just as a pitcher, I would go in the stands to watch him pitch. He's got a unique arsenal of fastball, split, and breaking balls. And I've often said, and I will say it again, that if the Angels are where they want to be at the end of the year, going into September, I don't think you're going to see him do both. I could be wrong, but I still think at some point his greatest weapon is his arm. The hitting is nice, and it's a great thing to root for, and hopefully it continues, but there's too many things that can get in the way when you're trying to prepare for a start and dominate down the stretch, which I believe that's the missing link for the Angels. Their offense is good enough without him, but it's you got to believe their plan and their letter enticed him over here to do this as long as possible And then all bets are off when they get into the playoff run, in my opinion.
Ohtani is hitting .339, 4 home runs, 14 RBIs, has 5 multi-hit games as well. He's given up 4 home runs and he's hit 4 home runs in that race we were talking about. So it's been pretty impressive so far. From an injury standpoint, Clayton Kershaw goes on the 10-day DL with biceps tendonitis. So as a pitcher, kind of explain that. How bad is that? What could it lead to? Or should he be back pretty quick?
Yeah, I wouldn't imagine it's much time. Look, with the 10-day DL now, it's a different deal in baseball. You know, once thought that this would be really, really good for the game. And I'm not saying this is the case, but there's been a lot of reasons to rest pitchers from the 10-day DL last year and the year before, just because you want to conserve innings. But for a bicep tendonitis, it's probably one of those things that you're not as overly concerned about. And you can get what's considered a tired arm, or in this case, a little bit of a tendonitis in a bicep. That's fine, because that will, you have the ability to, we used to talk about the hot and cold tub of where you're just trying to flush the inflammation in that area, and bicep tendonitis is something that, I think every pitcher at some point might feel like they have, but it goes away pretty quickly. And you're not as concerned about that.
We are talking with 96 Cy Young Award winner John Smoltz, whom I once bumped into, by the way, in the line at Disney's Typhoon Lagoon when he was down there in spring training. You remember that, right, John? I was there with my kids. Oh, hey, John, how you doing? Of all the places you expect to see John Smoltz, Typhoon Lagoon, sure, Disney Beach. So that was funny. The other thing that's interesting is what the Yankees have been able to do here. 15 of 16, John. It looked like the Red Sox were going to run away with the AL East, and they still have the best record in baseball. But after this incredible run, that lead is down to 1 game. And as we said on MLB Network, you guys will get that series twice this week. In the long term, which team right now do you think you have more faith in to win the division, the Yankees or the Red Sox?
That's a great question, because in a regular season format, what the Yankees have put themselves in position to is to hide a few more mistakes, if you will, by their offense. But what the Red Sox have been able to put up is their fact that if their starting rotation is healthy, you got to like their starting rotation over the Yankees. But it's going to be must-see TV the rest of the way, because the offensive power and the offensive numbers that the Yankees, they're always one swing away from either getting back in the game or winning a game, which you've seen in their last 2 weeks. And they're getting way better pitching than people expected, especially from CC Sabathia, who, by the way, 2 years ago, people wrote off, saying that he can't pitch without 95. I still maintain that they've put themselves, the Yankees have, in a great situation regular season-wise, to just beat up people more, because the pitching they're going to face, if it isn't locked in every night, they're going to score some runs. Now, the key is going to be in clutch situations down the stretch and great pitching, because there's a lot of strikeouts in the Yankees lineup. But you better be on your game. It better be Corey Kluber-like. It better be Scherzer-like. It better be the likes of what Houston has to throw at you, which, oh, by the way, they won 3 out of 4 because they shut out the Houston offense. But when you've got Cole, Verlander, Morton, McCullers, that's a lineup that you can navigate through with the strikeouts that they're in that lineup. But it's also a lineup, you just hang one slider, and they're going to hit a lot of home runs. So it's going to be a fun stretch run. The rivalry's officially back between the Red Sox and the Yankees.
John, quick.
I guess I didn't answer your question.
It's okay.
That's all right.
But you sounded so well doing it. I enjoyed it.
At this point, in what looks like, it looks like the edge goes to the Yankees with their offense and their bullpen.
All right. So you did answer the question.
There you go.
It's all good. All right. Next time we'll do Blizzard Beach. All right, instead of Typhoon Lagoon. John, we appreciate you being with us this morning. Thanks.
All right, guys, have a good one.
You guys do Blizzard Beach. I'll get a blizzard.
Yeah, exactly. No, it was really funny because I used to take the kids down there for their birthday every year, and it was right about spring training. They were, oh, hey, John, how you? Yeah. Not often you see John Smoltz hanging out,
ready to go,
suit, ready to go down the hill. It's pretty funny. All right, we have identified the player that you once Yadier Molina.
I kicked him in the groin, and now I do remember.
Yeah, and plus a coach in New York like we've never seen him before. We'll get to that.
Delta strives to take the stress out of travel so you can focus on what comes next. And Delta Comfort Plus can help. With Sky Priority boarding, extra legroom, and a wide selection of unlimited complimentary snacks, you can arrive refreshed, ready to take on the world.
Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio, ESPN News, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Okay, earlier on the show, we were talking about Cardinals catcher Yadier Molina, who took one to the nether region.
Yeah, he did. 102-mile-an-hour fastball, just barely got tipped by the batter, and then caught him
right where you don't want to
flush.
Be caught. And then to be clear, I mean, normally we have fun with this, ha, joke. He had to have surgery.
He did.
Down there.
Hematoma.
Yeah. That's basically a fancy word for a giant bruise.
Yeah. So
on your thing that you don't want bruised.
There you go. So he's going to be out about a month.
A month.
So we're not going to do our normal joking around about this particular one, even though we certainly have our fun there, because every guy's gone through it somehow, some way. Normally you're out of breath for a little while, in a little bit of pain, shrug it off, and then you get back to what you need to do. He had to leave the game, and now with surgery, that's a tough call.
Looks like he's going to be out at least a month.
Yep.
So that got us to talking about the time that you did that.
I did, yes.
In the NFL.
It turned out to be in 1989. It was against the Giants on the goal line, D-line, just kind of shoot forward. Yeah. And I did that, and the running back was running back behind me.
Yes.
And I swung my leg around and healed him right in the jewels, in the family jewels. And he dropped it, but he dropped in the end zone.
Dropped like a rock. Here was the headline from the New York Times in 1989. Eagles turned Giants' mistakes into 24-17 victory. And here's the 12th paragraph of that article. 2 possessions later, the Giants tied the score on Otis Anderson's 1-yard run. On the play, Anderson was kicked in the groin by Mike Golic, an Eagles defensive tackle, and did not return to the game.
Yeah.
So you took him out.
You know what?
You took him out.
And my memory is so bad that I did forget to say this. Greeny and I, we had him on the show years ago.
Yeah.
And I actually apologized to him. Listen, I don't want to try and kick a guy like that. Cliff still thinks I was trying to kick him right in the family jewels. I was not. I was just trying to swing my leg around and trip him. But the kick went a little high, caught him right where he didn't want to be caught.
No.
And like I said, he scored, but that was the end of the game for him. And I did feel bad. You never want to, don't want to hit a man there.
No, you don't.
No shot. But I did. So that's Otis Anderson. This much time later, I apologize for kicking you in the groinal area.
And Otis Anderson, I will say this. He's the one player that I think is deserving of getting into the Hall of Fame that has not yet gotten into the Hall of Fame. For years, Art Monk was that guy for me because all he did was set all these receiving records on a running team, with the Washington Redskins all those years. But you look at Otis. He came in 1979 as a speed back. Mm-hmm. He left in 92 as a power back. He's over 10,000 rushing yards. He's a Super Bowl MVP. He averaged 4 yards a carry for his career. I mean, literally, you check every box. Okay, you have to have this many rushing yards. He's a 2-time Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl MVP. I mean, I don't know what he's a Rookie of the Year, Comeback Player of the Year. I don't know what he hasn't done or didn't do in his career that shouldn't put him in Canton. And every year he doesn't get a sniff.
I would like to know where in the paragraph about his career does it say kicked in the twig and berries and missed the rest of the game?
That's in paragraph 7. I'm looking at it right now.
Okay.
No, I'm not looking at it. But I mean, Otis Anderson did everything. And, people
tough
that don't know,
he was a tough back.
And it came in as a speed back and left as a power back. Started with the Cardinals. Nobody won anything with the St. Louis Cardinals. There was a 3-year stretch in the 70s where they were good, and after that they were awful. And he stuck it out there for 7 years, or 8 years actually, then finished up with the New York Giants. So Otis, just so you know, you have always been the guy that I think should be in the Hall of Fame.
And for me, it's just it's an apology for kicking in the ding ding.
Yeah, but we're working our way through all of those.
Yeah,
things.
Listen, you can never say you're sorry enough for kicking another man in the ding ding.
That's fair. We're playing to our strengths.
All right.
Coming up, LeBron better than Jordan. We'll ask someone who knocked MJ out of the playoffs in 3 straight years. It's getting interesting. Stay with us. We continue. Golic and Wingo. Kick, ding, ding, free.
Everyone in the neighborhood knew about Bobby. Bobby, the basketball boy, they called him. Bobby wanted to go pro someday, so he was always out in the driveway shooting hoops. But one day, his mom came out and told him,
"Hey, your wife wants you to take out the trash."
His mom was visiting, and Bobby was a grown man. He had kind of missed his window. Plus, no one had ever seen him actually make a basket. But on the other hand, Bobby had heard how Geico could save him money on car insurance, so he switched and saved. So it was all.
The countdown to Mother's Day is on, people. This is not a drill. You only have 6 days left to get Mom a gorgeous bouquet from 1-800-Flowers.com. So to help you get out of this jam, 1-800-Flowers is offering an amazing deal that Mom would approve of. Today only, when you order a dozen sorbet roses, 1-800-Flowers will give you an extra half dozen roses free, plus the vase for only $29.99. That's right. Buy a dozen sorbet roses, get a half dozen plus a free vase for only $29.99. This limited time offer ends today, so order now. With an impressive mix of pastel shades in pink, orange, and lavender, these roses are guaranteed to make her smile. Roses are the perfect way to surprise all of the moms in your life. Wife, aunt, sister, grandma, you get it. These breathtaking roses from 1-800-Flowers are picked at their peak and shipped overnight to ensure freshness. Buy a dozen sorbet roses, get a half dozen free plus the vase for only $29.99. Look, that's an amazing offer, but you got to hurry because it expires today. Whether you're surprising an aunt, sister, or mother, let them know how much you care with 1-800-Flowers.com. Order a dozen sorbet roses, get a half dozen plus a free vase for only $29.99. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com, click the radio icon, and enter code WINGO. That's 1-800-Flowers.com, code WINGO. And hurry, offer ends today.
Squirrels are known for saving, but with the help of AARP, they won't be the only ones. From planning to budgeting, AARP is here to help you stretch your dollar further. So take on today and every day with AARP. Learn how at takeontoday.aarp.
LeBron with 5, across the timeline with 4.
I've been fortunate enough to just get a handful of those in some of the biggest moments in my career.
LeBron on the left wing, drives, runner for the win! Banks it in! LeBron James delivers!
This is what he does in a way he doesn't do it to any other team in the league.
Toronto can't get over this hump.
And it doesn't look like they're getting over that hump this year either. Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio and ESPN News, presented by Progressive Insurance. Our phone guest will join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line in just a few minutes. We will be joined by NBA Hall of Famer Isiah Thomas, talk about the playoffs and what's going on there. Plus, Bill Polian, the Commander-in-Chief, our Pro Football Hall of Famer, will join us in studio.
And you always wonder, you start to hear is Dwayne Casey's job in jeopardy. Yeah. You're going from the year they had to the number 1 seed. Is he going to be the coach of the year to losing his job? And you sit there, we have Ryan Hollins in there, guys who played in the league, and saying, how much do you put on the coach? But then there's the side of you have to appease the fans occasionally, right?
Correct.
Where the coach sometimes is going to be, that sacrificial lamb and say, all right, we haven't gotten over the hump. The core of the team is still going to be here. We have to do something different. We have to show the fans we're doing something different here to make it look like, they obviously want to get to the next level instead of doing the same way and saying, oh, we're just going to ram our head into the wall again. It looks like we're going to make a change, because I think it would be a shame if Dwayne Casey gets fired off of this, but we've certainly seen teams in all sports do this to say, look, fans, we're doing something.
You asked us to do something. We did something.
We don't want to be status quo, the number 1 seed, and then gets possibly swept out of the second round and losing to the same guy and team for the last 3 years. So, we're going to make a move. And sometimes the coaches play that sacrificial lamb role.
Well, I did think what Ryan said earlier with this was very interesting because people are criticizing Brett Brown, the Sixers,
right?
And Stephen A. Smith thinks all 3 of their losses are on him. And he's like, look, man, that was basically experience of Al Horford knowing what to do and Joel Embiid not knowing what you can get away with or can't get away with in that scenario.
Like anything else, it's a combination of things. And, as far as that series, we are seeing the youth of the 76ers, and we kept talking about the future for them. And that's exactly what it might be. We all started and they did too, started talking about the now with the injuries in Boston, with the Cleveland, LeBron's teammates weren't really, coming together on the court. So it was like, okay, well, maybe it's the 76ers. But as we're finding out, maybe not. It's the 76ers, at least for this year anyway.
Yeah. Well, the idea that somehow this is up, nobody wants to get swept. Let's be clear about that. And they thought they had we both picked the Sixers to beat the Celtics.
We did.
But let's look at where they were and where they are. I mean, if you're the Sixers, you have to be thinking big picture at this point, because if you're Sixer fan, Cliff, I know you're the biggest Sixer fan. If you had said we'll win this many games this year and we'll make it to the semifinals, you would have signed up for that right away, correct?
I signed up for the NBA Finals this year, Trey.
No, but you signed up for the NBA Finals afterwards. At the start of the season, if I had told you could get here, you would have been like, get out of here.
No, at the start of the season, I signed up for the NBA Finals.
You're a liar.
Yeah, he is such a liar.
You're a liar. He's still enjoying the wins.
Let me tell you what's cool, though, is when we had Ryan in here, again, a guy on the court, and we're talking about that play that that Al Horford stole the ball from Embiid. With 5 seconds to go, Ben Simmons is taking it out, tries to pass to Embiid coming out at the top of the key there, and Horford steals it. And the breakdown, again, by a guy on the court playing it, this is how he broke down that play on what should be happening.
There's the play where Joel Embiid, they call the ISO to get him in right at the elbow line area, go one-on-one, and we're supposed to shield off Horford. In the playoffs, Horford's been there before. That's nothing but experience saying, I know the ref's not going to make this foul call, and I'm going to run through Embiid and try to get this steal, and he ended up getting it. An experienced guy grabs Horford by the shorts and says, ref ain't calling it, I get the ball, get to my sweet spot, and get a good shot off. So that's nothing but experience.
Yeah, I love that breakdown. Yeah. You know, what was the pass? Was it not, maybe not a great, I mean, you could look at that play a lot of ways. There are those that think, is Ben Simmons, should he be inbounding the ball? Cause he has the length to get the ball if he's on the court. But I love that breakdown of the thought mentality of going through. Ref's not going to call it. I can run through it. If you have experience, a way to stop a guy with an elbow or by grabbing the shorts or something. I thought that was a really nice breakdown of the thought process on the field, on the court.
And again, the instant reaction sometimes is like, oh, it's your fault.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just some players know the situation better than others. And I thought the way he broke that down, was very, 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 very good. Okay. Here's a question then, because we got the Sixers. The Sixers hosting the Celtics tonight, and Cleveland is hosting Toronto. I don't see any chance in Toronto winning a game. Do you?
I mean, I really don't, though. I tell you what, they made a really nice run in the fourth quarter. They didn't lead the entire game. They got it to a tie before LeBron did what he said. I know. I know. And it's one of those, again, where I think Cleveland just takes it out of their the wind out of their sails, but they did come back in that fourth quarter only to lose. I would have a hard time thinking. I got to believe Cleveland is so focused on, let's get it over with. Because we lose here, we got to go back to Toronto and travel again. We don't want to do that. Just be done, and we can stay home. I got to believe that's huge on their minds.
I agree, and I do think the Sixers have a chance to win a game tonight.
At home, possibly.
Because it's at home, because of how close it was the last time. And, maybe I'm being stupid and not applying the same broken logic to Toronto that I'm not applying to Philadelphia. But I think there's a difference because it's a home game.
Yeah,
for them.
I can understand that. Just Philly fans, if you get up by 20 again, just don't start to get too happy. You already lost one up by 22, and you lost 5 games this year. I think that's definitely worth repeating. The 76ers lost 5 games this year when leading by more than 20 points. Well, I mean, that's incredible.
It is, and it speaks to the experience factor that Ryan was talking about. So, again, history says both of those games, these series are over because no one's ever come back.
Right, it's just a matter of when.
It's just a matter of how long. I think 61% of the time they went on to the sweeps. Okay, so as we continue this morning, we're delighted to be joined now by Basketball Hall of Famer, 12-time NBA champ, 2-time NBA champion, Isiah Thomas is with us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Isiah, thanks for being here. The question we're asking ourselves this morning is: do we think both these series end tonight, the Sixers, Celtics, as well as the Raptors and Cavs? What do you think?
I'm going to say yes, they do, and the reason why is just from experience, in a playoff situation, you go in and you really do need 12 men committed to winning a basketball game, to avoid a sweep. Normally what happens is that 2 to 3 guys have already planned for their vacation. So they're not as committed. And games like this in the last, 3 to 4 minutes, there's a saying that the ball knows. So the ball will find the person that is not as committed to going on with the series, and that person eventually will make a mistake defensively, miss a shot, have a turnover, and eventually the team gets swept. You really do need 12 men committed, and I just don't see Philadelphia or Toronto. They will have 12 men committed to winning the game and going on with the series. So I'm picking sweeps in both cases.
So, Isiah, what does that talk like? Because you play long enough in sports, you're in a situation both positively and or negatively like this. So what you just said, 100% agree with. What's the talk in the locker room? What's the talk at shoot-around for these teams trying not to get swept? They pretty much know they're not going to win the series. So what's the chatter like?
Well, the chatter will always be around bravado. It will all go back to, hey, we have to play for our personal pride. We have to play for our individual character as a team. The talk very rarely is around strategy. How do we strategically attack this team? How do we strategically beat this team? And how do we extend this series? And you may have 5 or 7 people committed to doing that, but then the rest of the team have already made plans to go on vacation. They've talked to their wives or their girlfriends or their friends. And when you lose that single-minded focus or concentration, the team is only as strong as their weakest link. And there probably will be a weak link within one of those teams.
Isiah Thomas with us, of course, had a fantastic career, twice tasted champagne as an NBA champion, and, of course, now has his own champagne, so kudos to you, sir, on that. Nicely done there. And when those years when you were tasting champagne with the Pistons, you guys found a way to beat Michael Jordan, the Jordan rules, as it were, and Joe Dumars was a big part of that. And now we're seeing this series and this playoff run where LeBron James, look, I don't think many people think his Cavs team has a chance if they get to the finals against either Houston or Golden State, but it feels like we're seeing a bigger, deeper appreciation of LeBron in a year where he probably will not win a 4th championship. Where are you in the comparisons of LeBron and Jordan and where they stand in their collective greatness?
For me, I would say the debate around the 2 or the 3 greatest players that have ever played in a game. For me, in my lifetime, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is still number one. Still number one, in my opinion. Still number one. And my criteria for greatness probably is a little different than the regular fan. My criteria is, champion and also champion on and off the court in terms of the social impact, your social justice stand. I mean, we say Muhammad Ali is the greatest fighter ever, not because he probably wasn't the best boxer, but his social justice stance in terms of how he impacted society. And the way I was brought up, the champion had always had a responsibility to impact society on and off the court in terms of his or her social justice meaning. So when I take all that into account, we still say Jim Brown is probably the greatest running back ever. But was he? His social justice stance made him a big part of the conversation. Muhammad Ali, Bill Russell, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. So when I look at Jordan and I look at LeBron James, what LeBron James has done on the court, his social justice impact stance, what he stood for in our society at a time when our voices really needed to be elevated, he's taken that stance and he's also been a champion. When you look at his body of work over the last 15 years, you can make the argument economically that hasn't been a more important person to come along in our basketball lifetime than LeBron James in terms of what he's done in terms of elevating the sport economically, globally, socially, so forth and so on. We have franchises right now that are worth, $2-3 billion. So you can't underestimate the impact that he's had on the sport. And then when you look at his dominance over the last 14, 15 years, I don't know if we've had a player that's dominated this league for close to 2 decades other than Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar last final was in 1989 against us, the Detroit Pistons. His first NBA championship, I believe, was in 1971. Yeah. So when you talk about total dominance of a sport, no one has dominated a sport like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar from high school to college to the NBA. So in my opinion, he's number one, and then it's a fight for who's 2 or 3, and the debate is between Jordan and LeBron.
Let's talk about the physical aspect of on the court. LeBron and what he's doing in his 15th year. You played 13 years. Go to the end of your career and how your body felt and how you were preparing for each year, and then looking at how LeBron is preparing and what he's doing on the court, and just talk about doing it that late in a career.
So I came in an era, I played in an era where physicality was allowed. You were allowed to, push, shove, hold, and if any of you have watched the Celtics-Lakers 30 for 30 video.
Yeah.
You see Michael Cooper literally draped over Larry Bird, holding his jersey, and Bird trying to get away. Well, in the 90s, all those rules changed. And it's continued to progress into the 2000s, where it's more of an aerobics competition. It's more of it's a kinder, gentler NBA. It's not as physical. Just as Golic, you would say, football wasn't the same, as it was back in the day. There are certain things that you could do that you can't do now. So LeBron James is in an era right now where he can preserve his body. The players do play longer because there's not as much physicality to take away from your longevity. So players come into the league and they do plan and say, well, I can play 18 to 20 years and be productive. Whereas when we played, you really only had maybe a 10-year run because your body would break down. We didn't have the technology. We didn't have the nutrition. We didn't have all the things that these guys have right now. And that's how society works.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, Isiah, as we're talking with Basketball Hall of Famer Isiah Thomas, because people always say, well, who would win between Jordan's Bulls and Steph Curry's Warriors? And my question always is, which rules are we playing by? Because, that would dictate how this series goes dramatically in my mind.
100%. And in football, we say Jerry Rice is one of the greatest receivers ever, if not the greatest football player ever. I don't know if he is or not. Golic, Wingo, you guys can answer that question. Mm-hmm. But we do know that if he were allowed to play with these rules that they have in football today, he would be a significany much better player.
Yeah, that's actually a scary thought when you think he's absolutely right. My gosh.
So I would say, in terms of Jordan, the George Gervins, the Magic Johnsons, and Larry Birds, myself, we would all be significantly better in this era. Now, would Jordan's Bulls beat Golden State? I think that Golden State would have a very difficult time beating Jordan's Bulls, only because the athleticism that the Bulls teams had back then. Jordan, Pippen, Harper, Kukoc, they were extremely athletic. Now, you look at the Golden State team without Durant. I say that Chicago Bulls team beat that old Golden State team without Durant. The Golden State team with Durant, I don't know, because Durant is such a unique freak in our basketball lifetime. We've never seen a 7-footer with guard skills that can handle the basketball, shoot it from distance, play in the post, play in the mid-range. And in sport, the bigger, faster, stronger person always wins unless the smaller person has more intellect than a taller person. But if they come to the table with the same intellect, the bigger, faster, stronger person always wins.
Talking to Isiah Thomas, Basketball Hall of Famer, again, 12-time NBA All-Star, 2-time NBA champ. So along those lines, with what Golden State has right now, the death lineup in last night for the first time going forward, we'll see how much more they start as that group or when they're on the court. So really there's 3 teams left other than them, Isiah, the way these series are going. So who do you give the best chance, the way their makeup is and how they're playing right now, to beat Golden State? Houston, Cleveland, or Boston?
I see they all can make it competitive, but I don't see anyone beating Golden State. So when you say who has a chance, they all have a chance, and they all bring competitive fire to the table, and they'll all bring, good strategic attacks to the table. But I don't see anyone really beating Golden State because they just have too many weapons, and they can attack you in so many ways. And Durant right now, the debate is, LeBron James and Michael Jordan, who's the best? Well, as Durant continues his career path, we're going to be having another discussion about Kevin Durant being, arguably one of the greatest players to ever play and going in that room. Because when you look at, LeBron James, you look at Michael Jordan, and you match those two guys up against a Kevin Durant, Durant clearly has the advantage from a size, shooting, basketball skill standpoint. Now, does he have the body of work that those two will have? We'll see.
Well, we'll find out going forward. Isiah, we appreciate you being with us this morning, and best of luck in the champagne world. That is the way to branch out. We appreciate that. Thanks, Isiah.
And Wingo, it's pronounced Sherlon Champagne, and like Destiny's Child used to say my name.
Yeah, what can I tell you? I'm glad you threw that out there because I'm looking at that. I got no chance to say it right, so I'm glad you did it.
Sherlon Champagne.
Sherlon Champagne. All right,
yes.
Perfect. See, thank you. That way I didn't mess it up. If you mess it up, it was on you, but you nailed it. Thanks, Isiah.
Thanks, Isiah. Appreciate it.
Right, thank you.
Hey, everyone. Mike Golic here. Support for the Golic Wingo podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS consumeraccess.org number 3030.
Washing my nose, oh yeah.
I'm a shower curtain, and I do one thing, keep water from leaking everywhere. So you see why I feel useless compared to Geico, who does so much more. Like, not only could Geico save you money, but they've been around for over 75 years. And they give you 24/7 access online, over the phone, or on the Geico app. And they've got a 97% customer satisfaction rating. They do all this while I have to listen to this chucklehead. Oh, good, he stopped.
Washing my toes.
Oh, great, an encore.
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.
Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN News, presented by Progressive Insurance. We are delighted to have our Hall of Famer Bill Polian joining us in studio, the Commander-in-Chief, giving us the Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless, best phones, best networks, no contracts. Okay, first time you and I have had a chance to talk since the draft. Everybody thinks this team nailed it, that team nailed it. Which team do you think nailed the process of getting what we hope will be the best picks at the best time?
Well, I think the Giants did a great job. Yeah. I think the Patriots, with very few picks, did a great job because they filled two holes immediately. Didn't get a pass rusher, but they'll figure that out as they go along. So those two jumped out at me. I thought Buffalo did well. They had a plan, and they followed it to the T. And I thought Indianapolis did well in the same vein. They didn't draft players, particularly on the defensive side, that were household names, but I know how that works.
Yep.
When you're drafting for Tampa 2, you can draft specific players that nobody knows, and they turn out to be good ones. And I had seen film of some of the guys they drafted, and I thought they were pretty good.
So up near the top, we the morning of the draft on Thursday, the first round, that's when Adam Schefter had tweeted out that the thought was going that Baker Mayfield was going to be the number one pick. I'm not going to lie, I didn't believe it all the way up to the pick. I thought they're really not going to do it, and they did it. So your initial thought of Baker going number one?
Well, Marv Levy, who you guys know is my mentor, used to say, it's not what the decision that counts, it's what you do after you make the decision that counts. And so they've made the decision. They thought it was the best decision for them. There's no clear-cut yes or no on any of those quarterbacks. Only time will tell. But now it's their job to get Mayfield ready to play, to adapt to the fact that he's 6 feet tall, to create an offense that functions well for him, which means that it has to be really solid in the front three, because that's what New Orleans did to make sure that Drew Brees was protected in his early years with them. And we'll see. And only time will tell.
What was interesting there is Nick Chubb also with the Browns. Yeah. He and Baker Mayfield were rooming together during the rookie minicamp. Of course, Nick Chubb with Georgia. That's who beat Baker Mayfield in Oklahoma in the playoffs. So that he said they haven't talked about the game at all. That's not shocking. Then their number 4 pick going to Denzel Ward, who was a fine press corner without question, but everybody thought Bradley Chubb was going to be the guy there. That goes to and they do like the depth on their D-line in Cleveland. I do know that. But it seemed to go more to the need instead of the best player on the board. And there are many that think that is just a mistake all the way around. Do you feel that way?
Well, it's not that Ward is not a good player. He is.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
No, there's no doubt about that.
I'm personally not sold on their defensive end group. I don't think the other defensive ends match up anywhere near with last year's first-round pick. So my inclination might have been to go with the defensive end, Chubb. But Greg Williams, the defensive coordinator, wanted a press corner because that's the cornerstone of his defense. Now, Cleveland did that 4 or 5 years ago with the kid from Oklahoma State and failed. Now,
Gilbert
Ward is a much better player than Gilbert was. You had to struggle to find Gilbert on film. Ward's a much better player. The only negative on him is that he's really small. And when you see him up close and personal, it's a little bit arresting. You say, wow, boy, he really is small. But he's a great player. He can press. You just hope that the size doesn't come into play for him. That's all.
Pro Football Hall of Famer Bill Polian with us. And Bill, that's why this surprised me because, look, let's say you have a great press corner. He's basically taking one receiving option off the field, right? Well, in any given route, you can have 2, 3 more receivers out there, whereas you have a rush end. All he has to do is beat one guy, and the whole thing doesn't work. That's why, look, I hope for the Cleveland fans they pick the right quarterback, and I hope that Ward will be a great player. But, boy, when Chubb was sitting there at 4, it just seemed to me like, you saw the recipe, and Denver said thank you very much. They're trying to do what they did with Von Miller and DeMarcus Ware and just have it repeat again now, this time with Chubb and Von Miller attacking the quarterback and trying to win it, see if they can get to the Super Bowl again.
Yeah, it's a little bit unconventional, but Greg Williams is unconventional in his approach.
That is 100% true.
And he believes in manufacturing rush. You and I have talked about this a lot. Neither of us believes you can manufacture rush. In reality, you have to try and create it with talent. He believes otherwise, and he's had some success doing it, including against me in the Super Bowl, so I can't argue with it.
So when we look at 5 quarterbacks taken in the first round, you see in Arizona, Sam Bradford, the $20 million is going to be the starter there. In Baltimore, it's Joe Flacco. Now, Hugh Jackson has said Tyrod Taylor is the starter, but you have the number 1 pick in Baker Mayfield. You have A.J. McCarron in Buffalo, who goes over there, has been a backup basically his whole career with Josh Allen. And you have Baker Mayfield. Sam Darnold with the Jets, where Josh McCown right now is a starter. How do you play those situations out? In any of them, do you say it's an open competition, or do you do what Hugh Jackson is doing because he feels like Tyrod will be the starter? This guy is a starter, and we're not having this open competition thing going.
Well, I think the Jets may end up that way. In fact, if I read the coach's comments over the weekend, you could infer that. And I think that Darnold probably will end up getting on the field earliest, except for Lamar Jackson, who will have a special package. There's no question he'll have a run package.
But we're talking about it as the starter.
But as the starter, yeah. Right. So, I think Darnold has the best chance, but we'll see. That's what training camp's all about. That's what the preseason's all about. Everybody knocks the preseason, you know. Wow, the preseason doesn't mean anything. It means a whole heck of a lot this year. Everybody's going to be following it.
You're exactly right. Careers are made in preseason games. Victor Cruz doesn't get on a roster if he doesn't have a 3-touchdown game against the Jets. Tony Romo, Kurt Warner may never see the field if it weren't for preseason games. People need to understand there's value there.
I thought it was very interesting that last week there was an article about the baseball players who did not have spring training,
right?
Who are struggling now.
Correct.
And the gist of the article was, people say it doesn't count. It does count.
You know well that when Peyton Manning missed that entire preseason with the bursa sack under his knee, and then you guys struggled out of the gate 3-4. And what did Peyton say? It would be disrespecting the game to think that I could miss an entire preseason in practice and think I could just go out there and play like I've always played.
It took us 5 games to get going.
Yeah, and then you won the last 8 that year.
Yeah. Is there
9? I'm sorry, shortage won 9. You went 12-4.
So after the rookie mini camps that are going on, then there'll be a mini camp with the veterans as well. Is there any hesitation for guys like Bradley Chubb, for guys like Saquon Barkley, for guys like Quentin Nelson, and whoever else you feel to immediately insert them into the starting position, where this is your job, you don't have to work for nothing. It is your job right off the bat, first veteran minicamp we have.
Well, if the starting job is open and there's no one there, fine, put them in there. I think most teams try to divide the reps up, and you try to give the rookie, if he is the number 1 choice, more reps than you would give other people, particularly if the job's open. The league requires you to put out a depth chart.
Right.
I'd put one out with the rookie number 2 or 3 and then let it develop. But in reality, those rookies are going to get most of the reps because you need to get them ready to play, whether they start or not. They have to be ready to play. And in the case of Saquon Barkley, I mean, running backs play early. Offensive guards tend to play early.
Hernandez.
Yeah, well, Brandon Burlsworth, God rest his soul for us. I mean, he won a job in the first camp, so first practice. So, it tents to work itself out.
Now, Hernandez was a second-round pick, but I think he's first-round talent for sure. But for those guys like Barkley, Chubb, Quentin Nelson, the expectation is there. If they weren't starting by the beginning of the season, would that be a disappointment?
No. Oh, no. Rookies take a long time to develop. As you know, rookie quarterbacks, we won't know until year three.
Quarterbacks are different. Yeah, I'm with you.
And other position players may take a year, sometimes a year and a half. Most of us think those guys will get in there early and do well, but there's always a break-in period. Edgerrin James, arguably a Hall of Famer, took about 6 games to get going. Dwight Freeney, 8 games.
Yeah. And that worked out, by the way.
Worked out well.
Yeah. Bill Polian with us, our Hall of Famer, Commander-in-Chief. A lot has been made of how Ben responded to questions about Mason Rudolph and getting him ready, blah, 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 blah. You never had to worry about that, Peyton, because everyone knew it was Peyton's show and there's somebody else in Indy. But, Brett Favre never, gave Aaron Rodgers a giant group hug, and it worked out well for Favre, and it certainly worked out well for Aaron. What do you make of the dynamic of drafting someone that potentially might be the guy when the guy still thinks he can play?
I thought everything that Ben said was right on.
Yeah.
I mean, you could argue that they could have gotten a player who would help immediately in the third round. You can argue the other way as well, that Ben's getting older and constantly, as he should, reevaluates every year.
Talks about it after every season.
And one injury away, and they were not obviously satisfied with the people they had as backups. So why not make that move? It cuts both ways. I think everything he said was perfectly okay. To me, it was right on. I don't know why anybody would argue with it.
As far as what's coming up, if you're the GM of the Packers right now, are you not sleeping well knowing the amount of money you're going to have to give to Aaron Rodgers?
Listen, once the salary cap went in and the dynamic developed that the quarterbacks get paid the most money, as they always did anyway, the amount of money is simply a function of the system.
Yeah.
If Cousins, who, correct me if I'm wrong, has never won a playoff game,
correct,
is worth $27 million, you tell me what Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, Matt Ryan now is worth $30 million.
Ownership. Yeah, that's what he's worth. Ownership.
It's going to be crazy, right? I mean, you almost laugh at it, chuckle at it with the money out there.
As a general rule, you get a little nervous when one player makes a little more than 18% of the cap.
Right.
That's sort of the Maginot line, if you will. But, with Aaron Rodgers, so what?
Yeah, I mean, listen, you're going to win because of Aaron Rodgers. Let's just be clear.
Right.
They got to pay him.
Yeah.
Bill, you're the best.
Thanks, Bill.
Thanks for being with us.
Thanks, guys. My pleasure.
It. We'll talk to you later.
Delta strives to take the stress out of travel so you can focus on what comes next. And Delta Comfort Plus can help. With Sky Priority boarding, extra legroom, and a wide selection of unlimited complimentary snacks, you can arrive refreshed, ready to take on the world.
American Pharoah, the Triple Crown winner in 2015, is living the life.
I'm just reading from this article. Yeah. He'll have sex up to 3 times a day. And the quote is, they enjoy it quite a bit. He now commands $200,000 per cover.
Beforehand and afterward, there's not much room for cuddling, foreplay, or breakfast.
$200,000? No cuddling, no nothing? No licking, no nuzzling, no cuddling?
Just call her an Uber.
I mean, come on.
Devin in my ear just says, we're back here Googling horse sex jokes.
Okay.
Go ahead and read the joke you found.
Stable relationships are for horses.
God, you want to talk about a swing and a miss.
That was just awful.
Sports Center brought to you by DXL. Guys, if you're built like a linebacker or a power forward, finding clothes that fit has never been easy until DXL. DXL was built for XL guys with over 100 brands and an unrivaled fit starting at size XL. So get to your nearby DXL store or visit them online at destinationxl.com. Built to fit, built XL, DXL.
All right, by the way, Devin has been striking out quite a bit today. That stable relation joke was terrible. And, of course, Ryan Hollins was in earlier, and they were playing pickup basketball, and Devin thought he would throw one off the backboard for Ryan Hollins
to slam,
throw down. Apparently, he threw it harder than Thor's hammer, and it bounced back, all the way.
They're playing
court.
Pickup basketball here at ESPN, and Devin threw the bounce pass and bounced it back to half court.
So Alex tweeted in, Devin isn't a point guard, a pint guard maybe, because the O is for, oh my God, what was he thinking? Hashtag book it.
Yeah.
So that worked out very well.
Yeah.
By the way, some people are very excited about the Jets quarterback.
Yeah, they are.
Sam Darnold. Had the first mini camp, which involves just basically stretching and throwing passes against air. And a reporter was asking the head coach, Todd Bowles, about how did he look?
How did he look? I mean, first impression of what you saw today.
He was great. I want him to play right now. He was good. He obviously we threw the ball around a little bit, and he'll be getting better.
Wow.
So it's even Todd Bowles.
How great is that? I mean, the most monotone guy there basically
Who never says anything.
Nothing.
Just sort of went nuts there for a second.
Yeah, he
but the
did.
best part was the hyena laughing. Lydia was like, I can't believe you just asked me
It was
question.
great. Listen.
Can we play it again?
Go ahead.
Play it again.
How did he look? I mean, first impression of what you saw today.
He was great. I want him to play right now.
All right, there you go.
So, listen, mini camps, my son was at 3 mini camps. Or I'm sorry, rookie camps.
Right.
Couple more than you should, but that's how his
separate issue entirely.
Yeah. But he went to those, and basically, and obviously I was in a rookie camp as well. Basically, it's just about getting your feet wet. It's about learning the ropes, learning the schedule that you're going to have in the NFL, learning kind of where everything is, just kind of getting that introduction to your playbook a little bit, and just kind of going through that. So, I mean, but what else are you going to ask? I mean, you're sitting there. You just had your first practice with all of these rookies. I don't know what there else. You're gonna how'd they look? I mean, okay. Well, I don't know what else. Did anybody, fall on their face? I don't know. But that's all rookie. Nobody's going to look great in rookie camp. I mean, you're just getting adjusted to everything.
It is what it is, as people famously say. Maybe they could have said, hey, who sucked out there today?
Yeah, who really
bad? Stunk it up for you?
He could probably list most of the team, because nobody's going out there, forgetting the quarterback you see is going to make those passes that you can obviously see. Yeah. What you're not going to see, what the eye of anybody just watching is not going to see, is that missed assignment, that wrong step, the lineup in the wrong spot. Yeah. All that stuff that's going to go on at the rookie minicamp. And then when those rookies get to the veteran minicamp, when all of a sudden the whole thing escalates a little
quicker, a little faster.
That's why my main thing to rookies is, first and foremost, know your playbook. Because you need to know where to line up and what your responsibility is, because if you're thinking about that, you are in a lot of trouble once you get up with the veterans.
I think that question speaks to how much we want and need our football.
Yeah.
Okay? I mean, seriously, how many people used to be at cover OTAs for you guys when you played?
Well, I didn't really,
exactly.
Yeah,
didn't really exist.
Yeah, exactly right.
And people now live tweet 7-on-7 drills.
Yeah.
Like, Darnold was 4 of 7 with an interception. It's just, it's everyone wants a sniff. They just want to give me a little taste. Give me a little taste of the good stuff. That's all they're asking for at this point.
Yeah.
They just want to know that football does exist.
And players get it now. So you had the rookie camps. You'll have a veteran mini camp, and then you'll have the workouts going into about the second week, OTAs into like the second or third week of June, and then you'll have probably one more mini camp. Maybe some will just have the OTAs, and then they're off for, we have nothing until about the third week of July.
Celtics, Sixers, Cavs, Raptors. Either one of them get a game tonight. I'm just going to say they both end it. I do think, to your point earlier, the Sixers at home have the best chance to maybe steal one here. All right, we'll find out tonight. But again, history says both these seasons are over. But perhaps the most important thing you can take away from today's show is simply this.
We know how important a goal it can be in hockey.
We'll see you tomorrow.
I'm a one-trick pony, literally. I show up at kids' parties and act cute. That's pretty much it. So excuse me for being bitter when Geico says not only could we save you money on car insurance, but we do more. Like give you 24/7 access online, over the phone, or even via our award-winning mobile app. Well, ooh la la, aren't they multi-talented? Hey, I said organic carrots.
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot